Alright, so today I want to dive into this concept of the Pathless Path. It's this idea that keeps coming up, and it's something I've been really exploring lately. I came across some excerpts from Paul Millard's book, and honestly, it hit me in a way I didn't expect. I think we've all been there, right? Stuck on that traditional career path, following the steps we've been told to take. But maybe, just maybe, there's a different way. Millard digs deep into the scripts we've all been handed. You know the ones. Get good grades, get a good job, and then boom, you've got a good life. It's like everything's predetermined for us. And well, that's the issue. He calls this the default path, and it's so fascinating how he breaks down the idea that this path often leads us more toward external validation than genuine fulfillment. Think about it. Society hands you a map, and you're just expected to follow it. But Millard didn't just theorize about it. The man walked the walk, leaving McKinsey behind. And that's no small move. I mean, leaving a prestigious career like that takes some serious guts. It makes you wonder, what does success even mean anymore? By all accounts, he was at the top, but he left it all behind for something more meaningful, at least to him personally. And that story he includes in the review? The one about the king and the beggar? Wow. It really illustrates the point. All the wealth and external success in the world won't necessarily bring happiness. It's like we're chasing these markers of success without ever stopping to ask, is this actually what I want? That story hit home for me. Now let me be clear, Millard's not out here demonizing wealth or anything like that. It's more about alignment, about making sure your life is in sync with what brings you joy and purpose. And that can look completely different for everyone. Millard talks about this moment he calls his crisis, and it's so relatable. I think we all go through those moments where we have to reevaluate our lives. And it doesn't have to be dramatic either. It can be this slow realization, this nagging feeling that something's just off. Those feelings, those little nudges, they're valid. Don't ignore them, because often they're the catalyst for the biggest changes in your life. That's where the Pathless Path comes into play. It's about embracing the unknown and really figuring out what you want to spend your time on. It's not easy though. Stepping off that conveyor belt can be terrifying, but let me tell you, it's also liberating. Now, the review didn't shy away from the fact that some people stick to the default path for good reasons. I mean, let's be real. Security and prestige are powerful motivators. It's tough to break free when that's all you've ever known. It offers certainty, validation, and let's be honest, that can feel good, even if it comes with a cost. But at the end of the day, it's about defining success on your own terms. And that's easier said than done, right? Like, how do you even start? Millard talks a lot about this idea of enough. Figuring out what's enough for you. How much do you really need to feel fulfilled? It's about aligning your choices with your values, not society's. It's like rewriting the script, but saying that and actually doing it. Two very different things. So how does Millard suggest we start figuring this out? Experimentation. Action. Instead of just sitting around thinking about it, he encourages us to try things out, take small steps, be curious. It's like we're explorers, but instead of discovering new lands, we're uncovering our own inner landscapes, our own potential. And you know what one of the best tools we have for that exploration is today? The internet. It's shaken up the whole prestige economy. You don't need the gatekeepers anymore. No institutions are telling you what's worthy or good. You can connect directly with your audience, build your own community. It's amazing. It reminds me of that saying, find out what you're really into online, because no one ever told you that you should be. But I also got curious about the historical side of it. Like, did people always search for passion in their work? The review touched on this, and it's so interesting to think about. Millard explains that for centuries, work was just work. It was survival, not about finding your dream job. People worked to live, not the other way around. So when did this shift happen? This pressure to find a career that's also your passion? Millard points to the Protestant Reformation. That's where this idea of a calling started to emerge. Suddenly, work wasn't just about getting by. It had a higher purpose. Serving God, contributing to society. But wow, talk about pressure, right? Am I on the right path? Am I working hard enough? It's a double-edged sword for sure. That constant striving can be admirable, But if you're not careful, it'll lead you straight to burnout. So the key? Balance. That's where Millard's idea of designing for liking work really resonated with me. It's not just about finding a job, it's about shaping it, being proactive. Instead of just taking whatever comes your way, you're designing a career that you actually enjoy. Think about that for a second. Instead of saying, I've got to make $1 million, it becomes about doing work that feels meaningful, even if you fail. Because success doesn't have to look the same for everyone. It's about your values, what's important to you. And to figure that out, more experimentation. Millard even talks about mini-retirements. It's this idea of taking a break to reset. Sounds terrifying, right? But also kind of amazing. Not everyone can just press pause on their life, of course, but the principle applies. You can still find ways to experiment, even if it's just spending a few hours a week on a new hobby. All right, so let's say someone out there is listening right now. They feel that pull, that pathless path calling them, but the uncertainty is just paralyzing. What then? Millard gets it. Fear is powerful, but we tend to overestimate the cost of changing and underestimate the cost of staying stuck. It's like we'd rather stay with the devil we know, even if it's making us miserable. But there are tools to deal with that fear. One that Millard mentions is Tim Ferriss's fear-setting exercise. That one resonated with me too. It's not about ignoring the fear, it's about dissecting it, write it all down. Worst case scenarios, everything. And then, make a plan. What can you actually do to mitigate those risks? Often, just seeing it on paper takes away some of that fear's power. It's like shining a spotlight on those monsters under your bed. Suddenly, they're not so scary. Plus, with the internet, it's easier than ever to experiment. You can dip your toes in without going all in. Build a website, share your writing, whatever it is, without needing anyone's permission. You can think in public, test things out, see what sticks. It's exciting, really. And it reminds me that life's not a dress rehearsal. We've got one shot. Why not spend it doing something that lights us up, right? Embrace the abundance, not the scarcity mindset. And that brings me to one final thought. Generosity. Millard talks about generosity as the ultimate form of wealth. It's not about hoarding what you have. It's about sharing it, giving back, because there's enough to go around. That abundance mindset doesn't just impact others, it changes you. It's like the more you give, the more you receive. But it's not even about receiving, is it? It's about the act of giving itself. So as you think about this pathless path and where you're headed, ask yourself, how can I be more generous? How can my work, my life, make a positive impact? And with that thought, I think we'll wrap this up. I hope this deep dive sparked some ideas for you. Until next time, remember, the pathless path, it's yours to create.